Do you sometimes feel overwhelmed by Instagram? Do you get stuck worrying about what to post next and keep the momentum going? Trust me, you are not alone in this. I speak to so many business owners just like you, which is why in today's episode, I am sharing a simple mindset shift that will change how you think about Instagram and help you fall in love with your grid all over again. Before we dive in, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to Show Up and Be Heard, the podcast that exists to help women like you simplify your business and your life so that you can stop feeling so overwhelmed. I'm your host, Becci McAvoy, owner and founder of Be Heard Socials, and I am an award-winning social media marketer and an international speaker who specialises in content strategy and organic growth on social media. If you want to cut through the noise and BS and get practical, actionable advice tailored specifically to make social media marketing accessible and easy to understand, or if you want to be part of a supportive community where women entrepreneurs can feel connected and inspired to achieve their dreams, then keep listening because you are in the right place. To be the first to find out when new episodes go live and to get more tips like the ones you hear in this podcast, make sure you join my email community through the link in the show notes. Right then, let's get started with this week's episode. It is the first episode of season 2 of Show Up and Be Heard, and I am excited. And I want to talk to you today all about a mindset shift that you can make to fall in love with your Instagram all over again. Or if you're not going to fall in love with it, at least enjoy it a little bit more or hate it a little bit less. It's just a mindset shift to take you out of that negative vibes that you can sometimes feel around social media and marketing on social media to a better place. And it's a really simple mindset shift as well. It's one that I have used myself, which is why I now share it. And yeah, it really, really makes a difference because let's be honest, marketing online can be difficult. So are you ready for the magic? I want you to imagine for a moment that you own a high street boutique clothes shop. I haven't gone crazy. I just want you to close your eyes and imagine it if you want to. You don't have to, but close your eyes and really picture it. I want you to think about how you would treat your customers. If you had a physical real life shop that was a high street boutique clothes shop, how would you treat your customers? Well, I am sure that first you would welcome them when they walk through your door. You'd smile and you'd say hi, or you might ask them if they needed any help. Either way, if someone walked through the door of your shop, your goal would be to create a welcoming environment when they come in, and you would want them to feel comfortable. And if somebody walks through the door that's a regular, what about them? You know them really well. They come in and out of the shop often. What would you do with them? Well, you would probably have a chat. You'd ask them how they are and what they've been up to. And over time, you'd get to know what makes them tick. You'd get to know what they like and they don't like. And you'd grow to understand more and more about them so that you could show them your new stock or share a special offer with them of something that would appeal to them. So the reason I'm getting you to imagine this is because Instagram really isn't any different, and promoting yourself on Instagram really isn't any different. Whether you are selling products or services, your goal is to get to know your followers and build their trust and respect so that they feel confident enough to buy from you, just like they would if they were to walk into your real life shop. However, Instagram isn't a real life shop, and I think that's where we can get stuck sometimes. So what I want to do in this episode is just go through a few ways of what that looks like on Instagram, and the things that you can do on Instagram and other social media platforms to create that experience that somebody would get if you had a physical real life shop. So the first thing, which we've kind of touched on just now, is that you would welcome new visitors. When someone new takes the time to follow you or comment on a post, it's a bit like somebody walking into your real life shop. Reward them for that action. And by rewarding them, I literally mean like you would in a real life shop, saying hello. So reply to their comment. Make sure you reply to the ways that they're engaging with you, or head to their profile and like and comment on their most recent post if that's appropriate. Send them a DM to introduce yourself and thank them for choosing to follow you. You don't have to rush in with a follow back if you don't want to. You just need to make them feel welcome. And it's not about, people can sometimes feel uncomfortable with this, like dropping a DM to somebody new that's followed them, because there's so many of there's so many accounts out there that do it in a sleazy way. I'm not talking about going in and selling to them. I'm literally talking about going in and saying hello, like you would in your real life shop, saying hi and how are you, and starting a conversation with them because they have taken the time to follow you. So introduce yourself and say hello. And if they don't reply, that's absolutely fine. If they do, you can start a conversation and start to build a relationship with them. So that's the first thing. Really nice and easy. Welcome new visitors, reply to their comments, send them a DM introducing yourself, and maybe give them a follow back if you want to and if it feels appropriate or right for you. The second thing that a lot of people forget is focus on the followers that you already have. So once they've come to follow you, don't just forget about them. You know, if they came into your real life shop, you wouldn't say hello and then ignore them again until they walked out. So instead of worrying about the followers you haven't got, focus on giving a more personal experience to the ones you have. This is how you can put it into action on Instagram, or again, this works across the social media platforms. So for your followers, this will feel like the difference between an attentive assistant in a chilled out boutique and battling for attention in a packed out Primark on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, or any day of the week. Let's be honest, shopping in Primark is never overly chilled out or relaxing. You want to make them feel special. So, you know, continue to speak to them. Like I said, continue to like their posts or comment on their social media if it's appropriate. Again, especially if you're business to business, this can work really well. And just get to know them. Use your stories to be able to get to know them and build that warmer relationship. And I actually like to again use the shop analogy to think about this with, especially on platforms like Instagram, where you can kind of see your content and your grid posts as your shop window. So obviously your current followers will also see your content and you want to make it useful and valuable to them, and that's a really great way to focus on the followers that you have already got. But also, if you are recommended to somebody and they come across and have a look at your profile, it's a great way for them to kind of have a look in the shop window. They come and look at your profile, they look at your bio and your grid post, and they see if you're for them. Now, there was an episode in season 1 all about getting your Instagram bio right. So if you want to go back and have a listen to that, I will link to it in the show notes. So you can do that, but it's also that will help them decide whether you are for them, but it's also about your content. So that's your shop window, and they've had a look and they go, oh yeah, I like this person. They're valuable, they offer help, or they're for me and I might want to buy from them in the future. Yeah, I'm going to give them a follow. So they've looked in your shop window and they followed you, and then following you is kind of them stepping into your real life shop. And ways that you can focus on the followers you have in this respect is by creating content on your stories. And like I said, getting to know them and building those relationships, which leads me on to my next point of the way that you can do this. So find out about them, chat to them in the same way you would if they walked into your physical shop. You can do this through your posts. So although I've just said it's like your shop window, you can do it through your posts. You can ask questions and find out who they are and what they like. You can ask for their feedback on new services, designs, or products, and you can make them feel valued and part of your brand. But you can also do it brilliantly through your stories and utilizing the features that stories has, like polls and question boxes. Now, the reason this gets difficult when you're marketing on social media is because they're not physically in front of you, and it can make it feel a little bit weird. So just picture your phone. If you're going to go on your stories, just picture your phone as somebody that's in front of you and start that conversation as if you're talking to somebody. So ask some questions. You'll see that I do it on my stories a lot. I invite people to DM me all the time to let me know what they think, because I want to have a chat to them. I will use the features like polls. So they might not want to DM me if they don't know me that well, but I can ask them a question and say, I'm going to put a poll in here you know, like to help me find out more about you. I mean, that's maybe not what I'd say on my stories. I wouldn't say it's to find out more about you. But for example, it can be silly polls that don't really have anything to do with the business, like Are you enjoying the summer holidays, or are you finding them juggle? I say this because I'm recording this during the summer holidays. And then off that, I can then DM them. I can look at who's answered that poll and find out what they've answered and start a conversation with them. And again, it's not about going straight in with a sell. This is about finding out about your audience and your followers. And this is where you take them from being an audience and a follower to starting to build a community. So that is another brilliant way to give them that inside the shop experience. So like I said, your posts are kind of like your shop window. And then once they have followed you, you give them the inside the shop experience like you would if it was a physical shop. However, that being said, you also don't want to constantly be asking them questions and constantly be asking them to engage with you. You want to also let them browse. So similarly, if somebody has walked into a real life shop, you say hello, but you then let them go and have a look around the shop. Now, this is a really important point around selling. If you walk into a physical shop, you can see what that shop sells because you can go and have a look around. Your followers are not going to know what you sell if you don't tell them, so don't shy away from it. Remember, in your content, in amongst the helpful tips and tricks posts, you need to actually promote your products and services as well. And you need to do it way more than you feel comfortable with. So I always say to myself, I don't like selling. Genuinely, I don't like selling. It makes me feel a bit icky and uncomfortable, but it's something you have to get used to as a business owner. So I always tell myself, if I don't feel uncomfortable, then I'm not selling enough. And that's quite a nice thing for me to push myself out of my comfort zone. And the brilliant news is on Instagram, on another social media profiles, there are so many ways to do this. Like I said, there's obviously your grid, and you want to make sure that you're selling regularly on your grid so that when they come along and look at your content in your top few posts, they have seen what you sell and how you can help them. And if it's not in your top few posts, you want to make sure, I spoke about this again in an episode from the first season about pin posts, that you've got a post pinned to the top of your profile to tell them how they can buy from you without them necessarily having to ask. Because that's a bit the same. Like, you know what it's like, don't you, when you walk into a real life shop and someone says hello and you say hello back. But you want to have a little bit of a browse and a suss out of what the prices are and see if you want to buy something without feeling uncomfortable. So you need to provide that opportunity for them to do that on your grid. But it's not only your grid and your posts that you can do it in. You can also do it through stories. You can do it through lives that can be later saved as content on your grid. And you can also do it through things like reels in your content as well. And if you sell physical products, you can also set up an Instagram shop, which is absolutely brilliant. And you need to make sure that you've got that in place if it's something that you can utilize. So yeah, let your followers browse, let them see what they can buy, and tell them how they can buy and how they can ask you questions about those products. Remember, on your posts, those call to actions, and in what you're saying on your stories, for example, how they then make that next step. And again, you could go on there and talk about some of your services and say, would you like to know more about this, and put a poll up. You can utilize the features for selling as well. That is remembering that the purpose of you doing that is to sell. So you won't necessarily get as much engagement with it. And the great thing about Instagram is the poll will come up automatically as saying yes or no. But on things like the poll, you can edit what the options are. So you can put two really positive options. So do you want to know more about this service? Yes and hell yes, for example, or whatever's, within your brand voice, so that you don't have anybody answering no on there. And you'd hope most people wouldn't, but you don't have any kind of negative responses on there. So, and then that allows you to let them browse and let them say, yeah, I'd like to know more about this actually. And then you need to proactively follow up, look at who's answered that poll and proactively follow them up and give them the information they need, because that's way less icky or sleazy then, because they are actually asking for it. And if you reply directly from the poll, when it goes into their DMs, they will see that you are replying. If you have replied directly from the poll, they will see you are replying from the poll. So they won't think you've just slid into their DMs with a sleazy sales pitch. They will see it's because they answered something. Or if you go across and you can't answer directly from the poll for whatever reason, just say, thanks so much for answering my poll. Here's a bit more information about the thing that you're asking about. And that doesn't always have to be paid products. It can be your lead magnets or joining your email list or things like that. So let them browse. So the next thing, ask what they need. If you are not sure what to post or what to talk about on your stories, then do not be afraid to ask your followers what they'd like to see more of. This is a really short and sweet tip. You can also get a steer on this by looking at your insights to see which kind of content is working best. And if you need help with this, drop me a DM and I can help you come up with some ideas of ways to do it. But ask what they need, ask what kind of content they want. You might not always want to do this on your grid because generally people might not want to say, oh, I really need help with this thing publicly where they can see it on your grid. So this is a really great way to give them that inside the shop experience by doing it on your stories and asking them questions and asking them what they need. You can do that by inviting them to DM you. You can do that by using polls. You can do that by using things like question boxes, etc. So yeah, there's loads of ways that you can do it. Another really lovely thing to do is recommend other businesses. So let's head back to your imaginary shop for a second, or your real one, if that's what you're on Instagram for. And imagine someone comes in and asks for something that you don't sell. What would you do? Would you go, no, we don't sell it, and then stop the conversation? No, you probably wouldn't. You'd suggest another shop that you could try, another shop that sells it. So why not do the same on Instagram? Supporting other like-minded business is a great way to build trust and a community. And with any luck, someone might recommend you to their followers too, or maybe you could do some collaborations. And these don't have to be businesses that sell the same thing as you, because obviously you don't want to be doing it with your competitors. If they came into your real life shop, you wouldn't send them to your competitor unless it was something you didn't sell and you didn't offer. They just need to have the same target audience as you sometimes, if you want to collaborate. So it doesn't always have to be with collaborating in mind. It can just be being helpful and recommending other businesses and supporting other like-minded businesses. But it would also be really great to collaborate with them, and use a collaboration feature on Instagram to get in front of each other's audiences or go live with them and chat about something. So yeah, recommend other businesses, collaborate with other businesses. It's a brilliant way to build trust. And in terms of the collaboration, it's also a really great way to increase your reach. So yeah, that is that one. I'm going to move on to the next one. We are rattling through these, but the best thing about them is they are really short and sweet, and there's just some nice, simple things that you can do. So my next one is offer advice. You know your followers better than anyone, so tailor your advice to them. Share tips and tricks that will help them out and make them feel good about themselves. Think of that super stylish store assistant who holds up a dress you'd never normally consider and says, this would look so good on you. And she's right. So do that with your Instagram, offer them advice, tell them what might help them and what they might need. It doesn't always have to be to sell something. It can be to build trust, but it can also be helping them out with a problem, thinking about the pain points that they have, and resolving that for them, and make them leave feeling good about themselves and remembering you as someone who is helpful. Another thing you can do is offer samples. It's unlikely, but not totally unheard of, that people will buy a big ticket item or service from you straight off the bat. So if you are selling something high ticket or you're selling something very expensive, with social media, especially on organic social media, it can be different with ads, but with social media organically, it takes time to build that trust. And often people won't buy from you straight off the bat. And that is frustrating, but it's why it's important to be consistent so that you're not only going on there and marketing at a point that you need to sell. So things that you can do to put this into practice on Instagram, why not give them a smaller ticket item or a freebie so that they can test the water and grow to trust you? So that could be a free download. It could be 10% off if they sign up to your email list. It could be a blog, it could be a webinar invite, or it could even be a paid workshop, but a low ticket paid workshop. But offer them samples to get to know how good you are at what you do and why you and your business, whether that be buying a product or investing in your services, will make their life better. So yeah, offer samples. Now, the final one, and I wasn't going to get through this without coming on to this as a topic, is what I call closed on Sundays. This one is a biggie for me. There is no denying that managing your Instagram account or any social media account can be a time-consuming business. So do not be afraid to take time off. If you were in your real life shop, there would be opening hours and, well, there would be opening hours. There would be a time that you close. So set boundaries, and I call it closed on Sundays. It doesn't mean that you have to take Sundays off. You can take whatever you want off. But it's like taking Sundays off. It's like a shop being closed on Sunday, or whatever day suits you, or whatever time suits you. Even if you want to be active on there every day, you can be, but you then set working hours. I'm on here between this time and this time. It's just really important to keep a healthy balance, because otherwise that is the quick road to overwhelm. So let your customers know that you won't be around and when you'll be back to answer any questions. You can use features like auto response to say, I'm away right now, but these are the hours that I work. You could have a pinned post about it. It could be included in your bio. Whatever it is, set your working hours and communicate that to your audience and to your followers and to your community, so that they know what to expect. Because it's really important. Boundaries are really, really important. And that's why I am all about the social media marketing tips and ways that you can do things. And there's lots of those in here. But a lot of it comes down to, a lot of the success comes down to mindset and boundaries. So you will hear me talk about that a lot. So yeah, that is my mindset shift for today. Stop thinking about Instagram as a social media platform for marketing your business, and think about it as a real life shop, and think about how you would treat the customers if they came in to find you, what you'd put in your shop window, all that kind of stuff. So I am just going to recap the things that I've said. I'm not going to go into details about how you can do each of those things, because obviously I've just gone through it all. But here's a recap of my main points. So number 1, welcome new visitors. Number 2, focus on the followers that you have. Number 3, find out about them. Number 4, let them browse. Number 5, ask what they need. Number 6, recommend other businesses. Number 7, offer advice. Number 8, offer samples. And number 9, closed on Sundays. Remember those boundaries. So there are 9 things in there to help you shift your mindset on Instagram. And I hope they really, really help you. I would love to know whether any of them gave you a light bulb moment. I would love to know if you do any of them already, or if there's any you're going to do after listening to this episode. Please do come and connect with me on my socials. The links to all my socials are in the show notes. If you're not already, come connect with me, come follow, and please drop me a DM to let me know that you've listened to the episode. And like I said, if you've had any of those light bulb moments, or if you do any of these, or you're going to put them into practice, because I would really, really love to hear that. And if you're listening to the podcast, maybe give it a screenshot and share on your stories that you're listening to it, because I would love that too. So thank you so much. I really, really hope this has helped. And yeah, please let me know what you've taken away from this episode. Thank you so much for listening to Show Up and Be Heard, but please don't go without telling me your name. I genuinely love meeting new people and making new connections. So if you don't already, I'd love it if you'd come find me on Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook and drop me a message to say hello and let me know what you thought of the episode. The link to all my socials are in the show notes. And of course, if you enjoyed this episode or found it useful, then I'd really appreciate it if you could take just a few minutes to give it a review on whatever platform you were listening on, because every one I get really does make me do a little squeal and a big happy dance. Finally, more than anything else, please always remember, realizing that you're not actually meant to do this stuff alone is the first step to making it easier. So I'll see you next time.